Greetings and welcome to lecture series on thermodynamics. This is lecture number 11. We have started with second law of thermodynamics. We'll revise the part which we have seen in the previous lecture, that is lecture number 10. So first concept which we had seen was limitation of first law. In limitation of first law, we had seen that what is the limitation? So if we keep hot coffee in cooler room, then heat will be transferred from coffee to atmosphere. But reverse is not true. Cooler environment will not transfer its heat to hot coffee and make it hotter. So always natural processes have certain direction. This we had discussed. Similarly, we had seen one more example of transferring heat, passing electrical energy through a resistor. Next, we had studied about thermal reservoir. What is thermal reservoir? System of infinite heat capacity, means M mass into Cp. This value is infinite, such that when heat transfer takes place, its temperature remains invariant or constant. So what is a source? So if this is a reservoir, it will be having some higher temperature. And what is source? Source means heat is taken from the reservoir. And what is sink? It is again a system of infinite capacity, and its temperature is usually low, and when heat is given to it, so it accepts the heat and the temperature remains constant of source as well as sink. Next, we have seen Kelvin-Planck and Clausius statement of second law of thermodynamics. So first one is Kelvin-Planck statement, which talks about heat engine. So after this, we had studied heat engine. So what is this heat engine? I have shown one more diagram over here. So what happens is, in heat engine there is a combustion chamber where fuel is added, and in petrol engine there will be a spark plug where there will be combustion and heat is supplied to engine. We get work and some amount of heat is released to atmosphere through silencer. So this is how heat engine works. And then afterwards we had discussed a new parameter for heat engine, which is known as efficiency. So we derived this equation of efficiency for heat engine. Next, we had seen second law. Next, second statement, Clausius statement. What is this Clausius statement? It is related to refrigerator and heat pump. Okay, so it is related to reversed heat engine. So we have two types of reversed heat engine. One is refrigerator and second one is heat pump. Now if you consider refrigerator, so this will be higher temperature T1, this will be lower temperature. So here also you can see this diagram. Lower temperature means it will be refrigerator compartment, and when work is supplied to the refrigerator, it absorbs the heat from the compartment and sends it to kitchen. Kitchen means it is atmosphere. So basically engine, if you see, it is power producing device. So whenever power is produced, we expect that power should be more. But in case of refrigerator is which type of device? Here you can see refrigerator is consuming power. Okay, here also it is seen. Refrigerator is consuming power. So when power is being consumed, when refrigerator is power consuming device, we expect that power consumption should be less. This is the difference between power producing and power consuming device. Next, we had seen defined a term known as coefficient of performance, COP, and we developed this equation for refrigerator. Next, we had seen heat pump. So in case of heat pump, again here one diagram is given. So this T2 will be low temperature, this T1 will be high temperature. Now in case of engine, we say T1 is source and T2 is sink. Okay, but in case of refrigerator and heat pump, we say T1 as high temperature reservoir and T2 as low temperature reservoir. So basically what happens in heat pump is, heat is taken from low temperature reservoir with the help of work, and that heat is supplied to the room. Okay, so basically heat pump means what? Initially see, the atmospheric condition is 4 degrees Celsius. So obviously room condition will be also 4. So it is heated with the help of this heat pump. Okay, is it clear? So that is the function of heat pump. So in case of refrigerator, we'll go back. In case of refrigerator, what is the area of concern? Heat which is being removed from refrigerator, that is Q2, this part. Okay, so bottom part. But in case of heat pump, what is our desired effect? It is Q1. Why? Because that is the heat which is being supplied to the T1, okay, to the house. So that is why desired effect of refrigerator and heat pump are different. And based on that, we had derived this formula of COP for heat pump. After this, we had seen compared all the formulas together of efficiency of heat engine, efficiency COP of refrigerator and COP of heat pump. Then we derived this relation COP of heat pump equal to 1 plus COP of refrigerator. After that, see, since we have two statements of second law, that is Kelvin-Planck and Clausius statement, we need to find some equivalence between this. So in order to prove the equivalence between Kelvin-Planck and Clausius statement, there are two parts, A part and next slide will be B part. So what we had done in A part, violation of Kelvin-Planck. So what is actually a Kelvin-Planck statement is, so basically if we reject heat from the engine, then in this case it is following the Kelvin-Planck, but here this rejection is not shown. Okay, so that is why here this part it is violating, engine is violating Kelvin-Planck statement. Okay, but if you consider heat pump towards the right side, heat pump, it is not violating Clausius statement. Why? Because heat is transferred from low temperature to high temperature with the help of some work. Now what is done? We combine the device. Okay, so if we combine the device over here, so on the bottom side, what is the heat? Q2. So it will remain as it is. This W is inside the combined device, so it will not be shown over here. And if you see, what is the heat entering? It is Q1. So heat entering is Q1, and what is the heat leaving? It is Q1 plus Q2. So it will be minus Q1. Why? Because why negative? Because heat is leaving the combined device. That is why minus Q1 minus Q2. So if you cancel Q1 and Q2, what is remaining? Minus Q2. Minus Q2 means what? Heat is rejected by the combined device. That is why I have shown over here. This heat is being rejected by combined device. So if you see the combined device, it looks like a heat pump, but without any heat input. So work input, sorry. So here work is not there, and you can see that this is violating which statement? Clausius statement. So even though if there is violation of Kelvin-Planck statement, the combined device, which is a heat pump, it is violating Clausius statement. Okay, so this was the first part. In the second part, what we had seen was violation of Clausius statement. Now what is Clausius statement? Heat is taken from low temperature reservoir and rejected to high temperature reservoir with the help of some work. But here work is not given. That is why this is violation of Clausius statement. But Kelvin-Planck statement is followed in this diagram. So this heat engine is taking heat, giving some work, and some heat is rejected. So this is diagram, it is following the Kelvin-Planck statement. But now, if you combine the device, okay, how to combine the device? Draw like this. If you combine the device, you can see that this Q2 and Q2, they are in opposite direction, so they will cancel each other. And from the combined device, what heat is being accepted to the combined device? Q1. So that will be Q1. And what is the heat being rejected? It is Q2. So minus Q2. So same thing I'll show you. So once the device is combined, you can see this is getting cancelled Q2. So here we don't have arrow, and this will be Q1 minus Q2. And you can see over here Q1 minus Q2 heat is supplied, and same amount of work we are getting, Q1 minus Q2. Okay, so according to first law, energy in equal to energy out, it is validated, but it is violating Kelvin-Planck statement. So violation of Clausius statement in this diagram leads to violation of Kelvin Planck statement when devices are combined. Okay, so this we had completed last time. After this, next part we had seen, yes. So so your question is basically why I have shown T2 over here. See, basically no need to show T2 over here. Okay, even if you remove it is fine. There is no problem. If you remove this T2, it is also fine. Okay, it has been kept since we have to take reference from this diagram. Okay, that is why I have kept over here. You can remove this part, no problem. Okay, so next part is reversible process. So this we are seeing what is the meaning of reversible process. After conclusion of a process, both system and surrounding should return to initial condition. And we had seen this example. I am not going through this example again. You can go through last video, and I had given some example of money. Okay, and then we had seen this reversible heat transfer. So what is this process? This is extremely slow, and infinite number of reservoirs are required. Then only we can get reversible heat transfer. Now, the question arises over here. Why do we study reversible heat transfer? Because next topic is what? Next topic is Carnot cycle. In Carnot cycle, heat is transferred in a reversible way. So to understand that, we have seen this topic, reversible heat transfer. So this is the linkage between the reversible heat transfer and the next topic. Okay, so next part is Carnot cycle. Very important cycle. You will be using this cycle in thermodynamics in this module as well as in upcoming modules, as well as in refrigeration and air conditioning. Okay, so this Carnot cycle, it was first proposed by 1824 by French engineer Sadi Carnot. Okay, now this is the Carnot cycle. Okay, so here this we will discuss in detail, right side part, and this one is a PV diagram. So before starting now, let me draw some lines over here so that you will be able to understand the processes properly. Okay, so let me draw some lines. So suppose these two black color lines, these are constant entropy lines, and suppose these lines are constant temperature lines. Okay, these two lines are constant temperature lines. Now I'll make you understand why I have used different colors. Okay, so this part we have already seen. Isentropic curve is steeper than isothermal curve. So if you see point 2, so basically Carnot cycle have 4 processes. Okay, so before that we will see Carnot cycle has 4 processes, 2 isothermal process and 2 isentropic process. That is why I have shown over here 4 processes. Okay, now black color curves indicate these are isentropic, and red and blue color indicate they are isothermal. Okay, now we will verify this with our previous concept which we have studied. So if you see point number 1, isentropic curve is steeper. So here you can see black color curve is steeper and red color curve slope is less. For point 2 also, isentropic curve is steeper, red color curve isothermal is less steeper. For point 3, isothermal is steeper, isentropic is steeper and isothermal is not steeper. It is a bit lesser. Okay. Similarly for point 4, isentropic is steeper but isothermal is not that much steeper. Okay, so in this way we have to draw the curves. So isentropic means black color, they are steeper, isentropic, and isothermal, they are less steeper with respect to that point. Okay, now we have 4 processes. So process 1 to 2, you can see this is high temperature. So temperature is equal to constant heat transfer. That is why this is, now you will say, how there will be heat transfer when temperature is constant? This is a question, right? So I will give you one example now. If you take 80 degree and if you take 80 degree temperature, Will there be any heat transfer between this? No, because for heat transfer what is required? Temperature gradient. But then also what is the process? Isothermal heat transfer. That is why we had studied the previous concept. Okay, so let me go back to the previous slide. So how that isothermal heat transfer occurs is in this way. So basically what happens is, you can see the temperature difference 20 and 20.01 is actually very less, and it will take infinite amount of time and large number of infinite number of reservoirs to reach the temperature. In this way actually the heat is transferred. Okay, so for this example we will see how this occurs actually. So process 1 to 2 is isothermal heat addition. Process 2 to 3 is isentropic expansion. Process 3 to 4 is, again you can see it is constant temperature, so isothermal heat rejection. And process 4 to 1, this one is isentropic compression. Now all these processes we will see and understand with the help of this piston cylinder arrangement shown on the right side. So see diagram number 1, process A. Okay, the diagram number A, process 1 to 2. So basically what happens is, let me draw another figure below this. Okay, so if you see piston cylinder arrangement, it will be like this. Okay, from here the cylinder will be there. Okay, and suppose this is point 1 is the part where you have for example piston over here, and this is suppose a piston rod, and this is the end point, 3 point. So basically if you see, and this is suppose point 2. So piston, okay, and don't get confused, this diagram is reversed. What we are talking over here, this diagram is reversed. I have drawn over here reversed. So basically what happens is, this is point 1, this is point 2, and this is point 3. So basically process 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, it happens in one stroke of the piston. So when piston is moving from left side to right side, during this one motion there are two processes. One is isothermal heat addition and second one is isentropic expansion. Similarly, when piston moves from 3 to this point 4 and 4 to 1, again you can see we have 3 points, but the stroke of the piston will be only one. It will travel only in one direction, but in one stroke you have two processes: isothermal 3 to 4 isothermal heat rejection and isentropic compression, like this. Okay, now same diagram is reversed over here. So we'll see that. So important conclusion from this, what we have done is, in one stroke means one sweep itself, there will be two processes. Okay, it is not like 1 to 2 piston is moving from left to right and 2 to 3 piston is moving from right to left. It is not like that. So from 1 to 3 itself, piston is moving from this side to this side, like that. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we'll see this first process 1 to 2. Now what happens in process 1 to 2 is, there is energy source. So basically all the sides are insulated. Okay, so all the sides are insulated of this cylinder. So everywhere insulation will be there. So let me draw insulation part. So suppose on all the sides we have insulation. So this is insulation and this is also insulation. Insulation of this cylinder head, this has been removed. Okay, so only that part insulation has been removed. Why? Because we need to transfer it. So high energy source is attached to the head of the cylinder. Now what is done? Here if you see, within small volume there is high temperature fluid. So what will happen? This cylinder will expand slightly. So what will happen basically is, let me show this on PV diagram. So initial point is over here, and piston is over here, and this is the corresponding volume which is shown on x-axis. Now because of this high temperature, piston will move by some amount to this point. Okay, so piston, it will move to this point. So this will be the point, second point. And because of this expansion, there will be some delta T. There will be temperature drop. But as soon, and this will be very small value, as soon as the temperature drops, when piston reaches this position, again this source will supply the heat and internal temperature will remain TH only, same. That is why we say that this temperature is remaining constant and we are supplying heat. So then this will be next point. Now what happens? Again the temperature of the piston inside the gas is TH. Again, because of this high temperature, piston will move to this position. Suppose it is moving to this position. So the volume will be shown over here. Now because of this expansion, again there will be a delta T temperature drop. Okay, so again this heat source will be supplying heat, and again inside the system temperature will be maintained constant TH. That is why we say that this is constant temperature heat addition process. So this will move on for infinite number of cycles, and finally piston will reach at point number 2. So we will get point number 2 like this. I hope this process 1 to 2 is clear. Now after this, next process, what is done in next process 2 to 3? Now piston is still moving from left to right, okay? So stroke remains same. Now what happens is, this energy source is removed over here and insulation is provided. So now in this diagram, second diagram, we have insulation on the side as well as cylinder head. Now what will happen? Inside temperature is how much at this point? What is the temperature at point to this location? TH. Because of this high temperature, automatically the piston will expand. Sorry, the gas will expand and piston will achieve this volume. So here you can see from 2 to 3, you can see over here, this is not an isothermal process. Temperature is reducing from TH to TL. See, this point 2 is TH temperature, point 3 is TL. So basically because of this TH to TL conversion, heat is reducing, temperature is reducing, and that is why we are getting some work. So and one more thing which we are assuming in this case is, see, in actual case, if you consider piston cylinder arrangement, suppose this is cylinder and this is piston, and when the piston is moving in this direction towards right, or even if it is compressing, what will happen? There will be friction between piston and cylinder, and heat will be generated over here between the surfaces. But for Carnot cycle, it is assumed that piston is frictionless. So this motion is frictionless. Then only we can assume that this is adiabatic. Otherwise, what will happen? If friction is generated between piston and cylinder, this heat will enter the gas. And what do you mean by adiabatic? Heat transfer should be 0. But because of friction, what will happen? Heat is entering the gas, so there will be some heat transfer. So that is why for process 2 to 3, what we assume is this is adiabatic process. That is why we assume that this piston is frictionless. This is theoretical concept. So piston is frictionless, it is moving from 2 to 3, and this work we get because of heat, and the temperature reduces from TH to TL. Okay, so this is process 2 to 3. Now we'll move on to next process. Next, piston has reached the rightmost position over here. Now what we will do is, we will push the piston from right side to left side using some external force. So piston is being pushed from right side. So what will happen? Now this is known as process 3 to 4. This is what? Constant temperature heat rejection. So what we will do, now let me explain you this with the help of some directly on this diagram. Okay, so suppose piston is over here. So piston is at this position. Now what I will do, I have removed the insulation. So on this side there will be again insulation, on this side there will be insulation, but from cylinder head I have removed insulation, I have attached sink over here, low temperature. So because of that there will be heat transfer. Now what happens is, when I compress from this point, okay, so from this point the piston will move to this point. Okay, it will move to this point. So it will move to this point. But because of this compression, inside temperature will increase by delta T amount. There will be increase in delta T. As soon as temperature increases, this sink will receive the heat. Okay, so heat is rejected by the gas. In this way, we get constant temperature heat rejection. Again, from this position, when piston moves to this position, on PV diagram, this position, again there will be some delta T increase. Why? Because process is compression. So because of compression, since volume is same, temperature will increase. Again, that small delta T, whatever heat is temperature has increased, it is rejected, heat is rejected to sink. So in this way, constant temperature heat rejection process occurs during 3 to 4. Piston is moving from right to left. Okay, let me clear this now. Next part. Now still the piston is moving from right to left. Okay, this is the direction. And here you can see. Now what happens again, we are for process 4 to 1, we are pushing the piston. Now only condition is we have removed the sink and we have added again insulation. So insulation will be on top side, bottom side and on the cylinder head side also. That is why process 4 to 1, this process, this will be adiabatic. Why? Because insulation is there. And again here also we will consider that the piston is frictionless. So whatever, so there will not be a case like this expansion. So again I will give you the example. Suppose this is piston, it is moving towards left hand side, in left hand side direction. So there will be, in actual case, there will be friction between piston and cylinder. Here some heat will be generated and it will be added to the gas. So in actual case, it will not be isentropic, adiabatic. Okay, but here what we are assuming in our case, Carnot cycle, is piston is frictionless. That is why this is adiabatic and reversible process. That is isentropic process. Now, let me give you example. Suppose piston, it is moving from this point, that is 0.4 to this point. Sorry, directly to 0.1. Directly to 0.1. Here, since here we don't have any heat transfer like previous case, directly temperature will increase. So temperature was TL, it has been increased to TH. So here you can see for 0.4, let me clear all this thing. So for 0.4, if you see, what is the temperature? TL. This temperature of 0.3 and 0.4 are same. So 0.4 temperature is also TL and it is increasing to TH. Okay. Why? Because of compression. And which type of compression? Isentropic compression. I hope this cycle is clear. Now you can see over here what we have derived initially in module number 1 is area under PV diagram is what? Work done. That is why area under all the processes will be what? Inside this. Okay, inside this cycle. That is why whatever work we get from Carnot cycle, it will be this area. Okay, if you calculate this area, you will be able to say what is the work which we get in Carnot cycle. Why? Because area under PV diagram is what? Work. So this area inside, so it will be like area between 1 to 2, then area between 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 1, some area will be addition, then excess area will be removed, and finally you will get inside area like this. Okay, now a very big derivation is there for this one. We have to derive the efficiency of Carnot cycle. So derivation is very complicated, so pay attention properly. So if you pay attention from the beginning, it will be straightforward. Okay, so let me show you the equations, how we will derive this. So first equation, where is heat being transferred during process 1 to 2 and 3 to 4. This 1 to 2 and 3 to 4, this is which process? Isothermal process. So what is the formula of isothermal heat transfer? We'll go back to module number 1. Okay, so we'll go back to module number 1. Let me show you this formula. So we'll go back to module number 1 formula list. So here you can see for isothermal process, constant temperature process, what is the work done? It is C log R. And what is C? P1 V1, P2 V2, MRT1, MRT2. And what is R? V2 upon V1 or P1 upon P2. So this formula we will be using now. Isothermal work. Okay, actually what we want is heat, but heat is equal to what? Work. See here, we want formula of heat, but heat is equal to work for isothermal process. Okay, so let me go back to the derivation part. So that is why for process Q, for heat transfer Q1 to 2, what I have written C log R. So C I can replace by MIT1 log V2 by V1. Now if you see point 1 and 2, both point 1 and 2 is having same temperature. What is the temperature? TH. That is why I am replacing this T1 by TH. So MR TH log V2 upon V1. Similarly, for 3 to 4 process, again heat is rejected. This is also isothermal process. So what is heat transfer formula? C log R MR T3C. Here it is 3 to 4, not 1 to 2. That is why it will be here MR T3, not MR T2 or T1. Okay. So MR T3 log V4 upon V3. You see, if you are writing over here MR T3, then here inside it will be V4 upon V3 only. Okay. So that you have to maintain properly. Now see the diagram. Which volume is higher? If you see V4 and V3, this is V4 and this is V3. So V3 is higher, right? This denominator is higher. So basically this equation will become negative because denominator is higher and numerator is smaller and we have log over here. So that is why we are considering negative sign over here to make it positive. So that is why what I have done is I have taken negative sign outside. MR, now T3 and T4 both the temperature are same, TL. So minus MR TL log V3, I have reversed this V3 upon V4. Okay, now we'll write the formula of efficiency. What is efficiency of engine? Net work developed upon heat supplied. So W net upon heat supplied. So where is heat supplied? During 1 to 2 or 3 to 4. You can clearly see in PV diagram it is from 1 to 2. Okay, so here heat is supplied and during 3 to 4 heat is rejected. So we will consider only 1 to 2. So Q 1 to 2. Now by first law of thermodynamics, what equation we have for a cycle? Summation of work for a cycle is equal to summation of heat for a cycle. This equation we have. So same thing I have done. What is written over here? W net. So this W net I have replaced by Q net. What is Q net? Q1 to 2 plus Q3 to 4. Okay, so in this way you get the numerator part by first law of thermodynamics. Now we'll substitute the values of Q1 to 2. Now what is Q1 to 2? We have already found the value. This Q1 to 2, what is the value? MRTH log V2 upon V1. I have substituted over here. Plus, now see this Q3 to 4, this is rejected, right? 3 to 4. So here you can see whenever heat is added, that value you can get positive. But whenever heat is rejected during 3 to 4, this value is negative. Okay, this value is negative. That is why here you can see negative sign is there. Divided by Q1 to 2. So again I have written Q1 to 2 value. Okay, so basically just we are substituting Q1 to 2 and Q3 to 4 values in this equation. Now we will consider, we have considered process 1 to 2 and 3 to 4 to calculate heat. Now we will find the temperature and volume relation for isentropic process 2 to 3 and 4 to 1. So again we will visit the formula list. So what is the, for isentropic process, what is the law? See this, T2 upon T1 is equal to V1 upon V2 raised to gamma minus 1. This is the relation. This relation we will be using now. So instead of 2, see for 2 to 3 process we don't have 1 to 2. That is why we are writing 3 to 2. So T3 upon T2 is equal to, see this, it is not V3 upon V2. Remember this properly. T3 upon T2 equal to V2 upon V3 raised to gamma minus 1. So what we will do is, we'll get V2 upon V3 is equal to T3 upon T2. We'll take gamma on this side, so it will become 1 upon gamma minus 1. And now instead of T3 and T2, what is T3? T low. So we have replaced this T3 by T low. And what is T2? T2 is T high. So we have replaced this T2 by T high, and we get this relation between volume and temperature. Similarly, you can apply isentropic process 4:1. For that also, I am not going through this again. You will get the same relation. Okay, you can go through this afterwards. What you will get is V1 upon V2 is equal to T low upon T high raised to 1 upon gamma minus 1. Okay, this you will get. Now next part. Now you can see on the right side of this equation, see this part. What is this? And see this part. Both the values are same. Both the right hand sides are same. T low upon T high raised to 1 upon gamma minus 1. That is why we can equate LHS. We can equate LHS. So here I have done the same thing. What I have done, this V2 upon V3 I have taken over here, and I have equated it by V1 upon V4 like this. Okay, so that is why we did this part, so that we can equate these two. Let me clear this now. So from here what we can get, we can cross multiply and we will get that V2 upon V1 is equal to V1 I have taken on this side is equal to V3 upon V4. So V3 I have taken on this side. So this is the relation which we got. Now see this equation. In this equation we have V2 upon V1. This V2 upon V1 we have. In denominator also we have V2 upon V1. And in numerator we have V3 upon V4. And this V3 upon V4 and V2 upon V1 are equal. So basically what we can do is, we can cancel this. Log V2 upon V1, log V3 upon V4 and log V2 upon V1. Similarly, we can cancel MR and MR. We can take MR common from numerator and it will get cancelled from denominator. So you will get a final equation. Okay, so after doing this, let me show you the final equation. So you will get final equation like this. So everything is getting cancelled, only temperature will remain. So T high minus T low upon Ti. Okay, so this is very important equation. Which equation? This one. Let me highlight the equation, this part. This equation is very important equation, equation of efficiency of Carnot cycle. You have to remember this. For heat engine, remember, it is not for refrigerator, not for heat pump. It is for heat engine. Okay, now what I have done in this part is I have separated the denominator for both the numerators. So 1 minus T low upon T high, like that I have written. Now based on this equation, there will be n number of conclusions. So one by one we will now see what are the different conclusions which we can get from this equation. Okay, so from this equation, efficiency is 1 minus T low upon T high. What we can conclude is Carnot cycle efficiency or Carnot cycle, it depends on what cycle efficiency, it depends only on temperature limits. Very important conclusion. Okay, so that is why for Carnot cycle I have written efficiency, it depends only on 2 temperature limits and not on nature or amount of working substance. So if there is a Carnot engine, you are putting inside petrol, you are putting inside diesel, it doesn't matter. What matters? What is T low and what is T high? Fluid doesn't, nature of working substance doesn't matter. Only what matters is T low and T high. This is the conclusion from this. So for Carnot cycle expression, it depends only on temperature limit and not on nature or amount of working substance. Very important conclusion. Next part. So we had already derived for engine what is the formula of efficiency, 1 minus Q2 upon Q1. Okay, this we have derived in last lecture. And now what we derived, efficiency of Carnot engine is what? 1 minus T low upon T high. Okay, so for and remember this efficiency is valid for which cycle? Actual cycle. So if you consider theoretical cycle, now what you will get now for Carnot cycle or reversible cycle, what you can write? See now this equation, it is valid for actual cycle. Okay, and for Carnot cycle also we have used this. Why we are using this now? It will be clear in next when we take the concepts. Okay, when we are solving the numericals, there I will be explaining you. See, actually, if you see now this formula of efficiency is general efficiency formula. It is valid for actual cycle as well as Carnot cycle. But this formula, it is only valid for Carnot cycle. That is why what I have done over here is, if you equate these two for Carnot cycle, what will happen? 1 will get cancelled, negative sign will become positive, and you will get Q2 upon Q1 is equal to T2 upon T1. This equation you will get for Carnot or reversible engine. Carnot means, see, in question it might be given as reversible engine. Reversible engine means itself it is Carnot engine or ideal engine. So all the three terminologies meaning is same. Now next part, what is the reason Carnot cycle is not possible practically? That we will see. Now before that, we have seen what is PV diagram of Carnot cycle. We will quickly see what is the TH diagram. Okay, so here you can see there is a diagram which is drawn, TH diagram, and this is also of Carnot cycle. So PV diagram we have already seen. Isothermal heat addition, isentropic expansion, 3 to 4 is isothermal heat rejection, and 4 to 1 is isentropic compression. So on TH diagram, if you see what is 1 to 2, constant temperature heat addition. That is why here you can see on temperature axis 1 to 2 temperature is same. That is why this is horizontal line and heat is added. What is 2 to 3? Isentropic expansion. Now 2 to 3 here you can see isentropic. Why? Because x-axis is entropy. That is why it is vertical line. Okay, so process 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4 is what? It is again constant temperature heat rejection. So you can see 3 to 4 temperature is T low, and this is constant temperature heat rejection. And 4 to 1, this part, if you see what is this 4 to 1, this is isentropic. You can see S4 is equal to S1 on x-axis. So constant entropy, that is isentropic compression. Okay, so in this way we have drawn TH, we have seen TH diagram also. Now we'll go back to the reasons why this Carnot cycle is not actually possible. So first reason, what we assume is piston is frictionless. This is the assumption when piston moves inside during process 2 to 3 and during process 4 to 1, which is not actually possible. So it is impossible to perform frictionless process. Therefore, isentropic expansion and compression process is not possible. So 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 to 1, this process is actually not possible. Next, it is impossible to transfer heat without temperature difference. So here if you see 1 to 2 process, what is this? Constant temperature heat addition, and in actual case this is not possible. Okay. Third, now through some way this process can be possible. What is that way is, let me explain you that way. So for process to be in order to have isothermal heat addition or heat rejection process, piston should move very slowly. And for isentropic compression or expansion means here piston should move very fast. Now why this is there? Isentropic reason we have already seen in previous slide. Why? Because heat is supplied during this 1 to 2 process, so temperature slightly increases by delta T. So what is done is again the heat is added and the temperature is increased to Th. In this way process occurs. That is why this 1 to 2 is very slow. Now why do we say that isentropic process of expansion is very fast? Because what is meaning of this is this process 2 to 3 isentropic is so fast that there is no time to dissipate the heat generated between piston and cylinder into the system. That process is very fast. So the heat won't have any time to enter the gas, enter the system. That is why here it is written that isentropic process should be very fast. Now you should note over here is this is the stroke. Okay, let me clear this diagram. Okay, so let me draw this a diagram over here. So basically piston moves from this point 1 to point 3 like this. So in one stroke itself, if you see, we have isothermal. So in this part piston should move slow, and from 2 to 3 piston should move fast. So this is not practically possible during one stroke of the piston itself, from 1 and this is point 2 and this is point 3. In one direction itself, left to right, we want 1 to 2 very slow and 2 to 3 very fast. This is physically not possible. Okay, that is why these are the reasons why Carnot cycle is not practical. Okay, so let me show you that statement. Same thing is written. For isothermal process, piston should move very slow, and for isentropic process, piston should move very fast. And since both the processes 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 are concluded during same stroke, during same stroke means what? Piston is moving from left to right. It is not possible. Okay. Next concept. So we have completed with Carnot cycle. Next concept is Carnot theorem. It is also known as Carnot's principle. So what is this? It states that of all heat engines operating between a given constant temperature source and a given constant temperature sink, none has a higher efficiency than reversible engine. What do you mean by this? Let me explain you this statement with the help of a diagram. Suppose this is a higher temperature reservoir T1. This is a lower temperature reservoir T2. Suppose this is normal actual heat engine. It is taking heat, supplying work and rejecting heat. This is actual heat engine. And second engine is Carnot engine. This is Carnot. Carnot means reversible. It is also taking heat, rejecting heat, and we are getting work. Here also we are getting work, but this is W actual work, and this is W Carnot, ideal work. So this work will be more in active. Okay, so same thing is written over here. It states that of all heat engines operating between given constant temperature source and sink, so source temperature and sink temperature, they are common for all the engines. None has efficiency higher than reversible. So this engine, actual engine, this engine efficiency should be less than Carnot efficiency of Carnot engine. This we have to prove. So basically we have to prove that for same temperature limit, if T1 and temperature T2 is maintained, and we have different type of engine, one is actual engine, one is Carnot engine, we have to prove that Carnot efficiency is more than actual efficiency of actual engine. Okay, so this we have to prove. So let me clear this and start the derivation. So I have shown a diagram over here. So engine A is a regular engine and engine B is a reversible engine. It is also known as Carnot engine. So Heat taken by engine A is Q1A, heat rejected by engine A is Q2A, and work which we get is WA. So this is according to Kelvin Planck statement of second law of thermodynamics. Second engine, EB, this is Carnot engine. This is also according to second law. It is taking Q1B heat from same reservoir, it is rejecting Q2B, and we are getting WB amount of work. Now what we have to prove is, if engine B is Carnot engine and engine A is actual engine. So what we have to prove, efficiency of engine B is greater than efficiency of engine A. This we have to prove. To prove this, what we will assume, efficiency of engine A is greater than efficiency of engine B, and this statement we will prove wrong. Hence we can say that efficiency of engine B is greater than efficiency of engine A. It's like that. So in actual case, Carnot efficiency engine, that is efficiency B, is greater than efficiency A. This we have to prove. But what we will assume, efficiency A is greater than efficiency B to begin the analysis. So what is efficiency of a heat engine? Output, work output WA upon heat supplied Q1A. I have written over here. So this will be greater than efficiency B. Now what will be efficiency B? Work output from engine B, WB, upon heat supplied to engine B, Q1B. So that I have written over here. Now what we will assume? What we will assume is over here, Q1A and Q1B, both the engines are taking same amount of heat. This we will assume. So Q1A equal to Q1B equal to Q1. This we can assume. Okay, no problem in assuming this. So if you see this equation now, in this equation, if Q1A and Q1B, both the values are equal, what you can write? WA is greater than WB. I have written same thing over here. WA is greater than WB. Next part. Now what is done over here? Engine B is which type of engine? Carnot engine. It is reversible engine. So I have reversed the engine. So this I have shown with reverse E and B. So if this engine is reversed, instead of generating the work, it will consume the work WB. And heat value will also be reversed. So you can see this downward arrow, it is upward, and also here downward arrow has become upward. All the other values will remain as it is. So Carnot engine, which is reversible engine, we have reversed over here. Actual engine we cannot reverse because this is actual engine. It is not reversible engine. So I have reversed the reversible Carnot engine. So now what we can do in this case? So let me show you one analysis. Again we will combine the two devices, two engines over here. Okay, so let me show you this part now. I'll combine engine A with engine B like this. So this is combined device. Now for the combined device, okay, I'll draw over here. This is the combined device. What is the heat entering from bottom? It is Q2B. So suppose this is T2. This is T2. What is heat entering the control volume? That is combined device Q2B. And what is heat leaving? It is Q2A. So this equation, so since this heat is accepted by the control volume, that will be positive. So this will be Q2B positive minus of Q2A. Similarly, on upper side, if you see, value is same. See, what is the heat being accepted? Q1. So heat accepted by the combined device, it will be positive. So plus Q1. What is the heat rejected by the combined device? Heat rejected means it will be negative. So minus Q1. So this Q and this Q will get cancelled. So no need to show this T1 reservoir. So this T1, there will not be any process over here, but there will be a process over here. There will be a process over here like this in upward direction. Now if you see this combined device, if you see the combined device, in this combined device, work done by engine A is supplied to heat pump B, but there will be some excess work. That excess work will be what? That excess work which we are getting from the combined device, it will be WA minus WB. Why? Because engine is this engine is generating WA, this pump is consuming WB, and then what will be the net output? WA minus WB. Now, if you see this part, what will be this part? Okay, so let me clear all this now. We'll see the main diagram. So here you can see this I had already shown, Q2B minus Q2A is equal to, and from this side we are getting WA minus WB. So this is violating which statement? This is violating, combined device is violating which statement? Kelvin-Planck statement. Why? Because this is a engine, combined device, it is an engine which is taking heat from a reservoir and converting into equivalent amount of work. It is not rejecting. Here actually there should have been some rejection. Okay, here there should have been some rejection, but it is not there. That is why it is violating which statement? Kelvin-Planck statement. That is why our initial assumption, what was our initial assumption? Efficiency of A is greater than efficiency of engine B is wrong. And hence we prove that efficiency of engine B means which engine? Carnot, is greater than efficiency of engine A. Engine A means which engine? Actual engine. Okay, so let me again explain the concept, what we have done over here. I am not going into the detail part again. You can go through the video. So basically we had seen over here a heat engine. Okay, this is actual heat engine and this is Carnot heat engine. In second case, since this is Carnot, this is reversible. We have reversed it. So along with that, we have reversed the direction of work. It is accepting the work. It is accepting the heat and rejecting the heat. We have changed the arrows over here. Now when we combine the device, you can see Q1 is accepting, so it is positive, and Q2 is rejecting from the combined device. So Q1 and Q1 will get cancelled. That is why we don't have any line over here. But on this side, Q2B is being accepted. So this one is positive over here, positive. But Q2A is being rejected from the combined device, so minus Q2A. And WA minus WB will be the net work from this engine. So you can see this engine, it is taking heat and converting into equivalent amount of work, which is violating Kelvin-Planck. That is why our initial assumption, efficiency of actual engine is greater than Carnot engine, is wrong. And we have proved that efficiency of Carnot engine is greater than efficiency of actual engine. Okay. Now this was this topic. What was this topic? Carnot's theorem, or it is also known as Carnot's principle. So based on this, there is one corollary. So we'll see what is the corollary of Carnot theorem. So what is this? All reversible engines working between the same temperature limit will have same efficiency. What is meaning of this now? Let me explain. So if you have, suppose, T1 temperature source and a T2 temperature sink, this is an engine which is Carnot engine. Engine number 1 is Carnot engine number 1. And similarly, one more engine we have. This engine is also Carnot engine number 2. But what is the efficiency of Carnot engine? It is function of temperature only, T1 and T2. T1, T2. This we have already discussed, right? We have see this. Let me quickly go back to the slides and show you where we have studied this. See this formula. Efficiency of Carnot engine, it is what? It depends only on T low and T high. Means it is function of temperature only. That is why I have written this part. So let me go back to this slide. So basically Carnot efficiency is function of T1 and T2 only. So if we have two Carnot engines between same temperature limits, then their efficiency will be same. It is common sense, right? So that is what is corollary of Carnot theorem. What is that? Or reversible engine means Carnot engine 1, Carnot engine 2 working between same temperature limit. So this temperature limit is same, will have same efficiency. So both the engines will have same efficiency. Now one more example I will give. Okay, so let me give you one more example. So I'll draw a bigger reservoir over here now. This reservoir is T1 and this reservoir is T2. Okay, now suppose this is engine 1, this is suppose engine 2, this is engine 2, suppose this is engine 3, suppose this is Carnot engine 1 and suppose this is Carnot engine 2. Now all the engines will take some heat and reject some heat. So let me draw that and it will give some work. Okay, so let me draw all the arrows. So this will also take some heat, it will reject some heat and it will give some work. It will also take some heat, reject some heat and give some work. This engine, Carnot engine, will also take some heat, reject some heat and give some work. Similarly, last engine, Carnot, take some heat, reject some heat and give some work. Now this diagram is very important. Why? I will explain you. Now if you consider engine, see that this corollary of Carnot theorem, what you can conclude? Efficiency of this C1, efficiency of C1 engine and efficiency of C2 engine, both will be same. So I'll write over here efficiency of C1 is equal to efficiency of C2. Why? Here it is written, right? Reversible engines means Carnot engine working between same temperature limit. You can see temperature limit is same. Will have same efficiency. So I have written same thing. So both the engines will have same efficiency. Now during Carnot theorem, what we have seen? Efficiency of Carnot engine is greater than efficiency of actual engine. So in this diagram, efficiency of engine 1, efficiency of engine 2, efficiency of engine 3, all these three engines efficiency, it will be less than Carnot efficiency. This is what is Carnot theorem. Okay, now come to the other part. Okay, now suppose these are the three heat engines. It is not necessary that this heat engine is getting some heat. Suppose this is Q. Suppose this heat engine is receiving some other heat, Q dash, and this heat engine is receiving some other heat, Q double dash. It is possible. Why? Because this is actual engine. Suppose here CNG is used. Suppose here petrol is used. Suppose here diesel is used. So in all the three cases, heat supplied to the three engines will be different. That is why efficiency of engine 1, it is not necessary that it will be, not necessary I am saying, it can be equal, but it is not necessary that it will be equal to efficiency of engine 2. Similarly, efficiency of engine 1 and 2, it is not necessary that it will be equal to efficiency of engine 3. Why? Because it will depend on what is the working fluid. If working fluid is CNG, petrol and diesel, all three engines, actual engines, will be having different efficiency even though they are operating between same temperature limits. But for Carnot engine, efficiency will remain same. For actual engine, it is not necessary that all the efficiency will remain same. It can be or it cannot. It depends on the working fluid. And always, this we have already proved where in Carnot theorem. What we proved? Efficiency of actual engine is less than Carnot engine. So here we will stop.